Hello, I'm Piyush, and my project partner Harsh and I did a project on design space exploration of machine learning memory kernels. We used Gem 5 Aladdin to do our design space exploration, and we focused on three kernels that we wrote ourselves, which are the 2D convolution kernel, a 2D max pool, and the fully connected layer in a convolution neural network. We used Docker to simulate the environment, and we also used some of the interfaces from the predecessor Aladdin project. The goal was to study trade offs between DMA and cache based accelerators and some of the other factors affecting performance.
So let's tell you about some of the technical insights which we noticed from our project. So based on three different kernels, we got three vastly different results. For the convolutional kernel, we noticed that the DMA performs better than the cache in terms of execution time and the average power consumption. And also if we increase the loop unrolling factor. So by increasing the loop unrolling factor, we increase the amount of parallelism in a loop and break it down to more chunks, which can be executed in parallel. So the execution time reduced on DMA and cache, but the average power consumption increased on both DMA and cache. The average power consumption increase on the DMA was much larger than the average power consumption on the cache. In terms of max pooling, we noticed that the cache performs better than the DMA in terms of execution time and average power consumption. By performing better, we mean it takes lesser time and uses less power. When we increase the loop unrolling factor, we notice that the execution time reduces by 6% on cache, and the average power consumption increases by 3% on cache. When we tested in fully connected when we tested on the fully connected layer, the cache performs better than the DMA in terms of execution time, and the DMA performs better than the cache in terms of average power consumption. When we increase the number of loop unrolling factor, we notice that the execution time reduces very slightly before reaching saturation, and it reduces a lot on the cache. The average power consumption increases by 320% on cache in a fully connected layer.
So some of the qualitative aspects, DMA based accelerators are good for performing bulk data operations, whereas cache based accelerators are more suitable for frequent and irregular memory access patterns. So keeping that in mind, we notice that the convolution kernel has a tendency to favor DMA based accelerators because the small filter actually resembles a streaming behavior when applied to an image or an input data. So in this case, convolution favors DMA-based accelerators. For max pooling, there are many irregular memory accesses during the pooling, and there's a lot of time wasted on the data movement in a DMA. So max pooling actually favors cache-based accelerators. And one for the fully connected layer, there are regular memory access patterns, and not all of the input neurons have to be loaded prior to the execution. So in this case, it still favors DMA-based accelerators, although there are still many idle cycles.